Joshua Tree as an environment of itself is very delicate and very pristine in that if one individual thing in a small ecosystem is harmed, it is catastrophic to the rest of the environment surrounding.
The way I think human nature works is people will stop doing something if you explain to them like why it's harmful, like to themselves, or the type of impact that they're going to make from their actions. And once more and more people start to understand like what their one seemingly small action is, like, oh, I dropped my Cliff Bar wrapper on my hike. What's one Cliff Bar wrapper going to do? Honestly, nothing is what they're going to think. But in reality, like, say 15 people do that on one hike every day, that's going to just exponentially just keep building up, and it's going to create a really big issue.
Even hikers will they'll scratch one thing into the rock and say, well, it's one name. It's two scratches. Like, who cares? But when tens and 20 and hundreds of people do that, all of a sudden you have a wall 20 feet by 20 feet that is smothered in names and carvings.
So I think the more people understand what even just like one small thing does, they'll be able to like try and like think a little deeper about it and stop.
On the dusty layer down on the ground, there's a thing called cryptogamic soil, which is funguses and mosses and lichens, all living together to form like a hard little crust on top of that soil. And what it does is it prevents the wind from blowing all that soil away, and then nothing can grow. So that cryptogamic soil holds the nutrients and the sand together so other plants can grow. So if folks drive off-road over that cryptogamic soil or hike off trail over that cryptogamic soil, you're allowing the wind to blow part of that desert away and not letting some of the plants that need that kind of soil compactness to grow. It's all one big circle, right? You know, it starts with those little cryptogamic funguses and mosses and lichens, to the small plants that the small reptiles and mammals eat, and then it just goes right up to the food chain to the raptors and mountain lions and bobcats. Our national parks need to be treated like museums. Everything should be left alone and left there for the other folks to follow behind us and enjoy the national parks, whether it's tomorrow or 10 years from now or our children. So the national parks do need to be treated like museums and left alone. So yes, one tree is too many. Fortunately, Joshua Tree has many trees, but those Joshua trees don't grow quickly, so it's not like the one or two that the park lost during the shutdown will be replaced in the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, there's impacts on everything, whether you're a hiker or an RVer or a camper. You know, it's hard to leave no trace. I like the bumper stickers that are out now that say, aliens and Bigfoot can leave no trace, so can you. That's what we should strive for. Different people take in messages differently. Some like signs, some like videos, some like handouts and pamphlets, some like face-to-face interaction with folks to learn about, you know, what to do and not to do in the park. You know, leave no trace, the 7 leave no trace ethics are pretty good starters for most folks to follow. Try and remember that someone's going to come after you and they might want to experience the outdoors the same way you did, that alone feeling, that solitude feeling, without having to, you know, pick up someone's trash or cigarette butt or things like that.
If this trend continues that we're on, this trend of littering and this trend of mistreating these public lands, treating them how we want versus how they should be treated, then they won't be there for future generations to appreciate.